If I die first, he will cry. But not because he lost me, because he lost his own performance. That was the line Marion Marshall wrote on a small piece of paper, music, found after her death in her Los Angeles apartment in 2018. No one knew who it was meant for until they read the next line. Robert Wagner, the man once praised as Hollywood's perfect gentleman, the ideal husband, the flawless co-star, turned music out to be the darkest shadow in her memory. For more than half a century, Marion remained silent, choosing to live in the shadow of Wagner and another woman, Natalie Wood, the love story Hollywood called a music legend. But before taking her final breath, she shattered that music mask. I once thought I'd take everything to my grave, Marion told a close journalist. But maybe I owe that to Natalie. Music, why did Marion Marshall, a woman once celebrated by all of Hollywood, choose to reveal the truth only when her time was almost over? And what made her believe that Natalie Wood's death was more than just an accident? Let's go back to the 1950s, the era where all the glamour began and where the first shadow of music, Robert Wagner, quietly took shape. Marion once said in a voice as rough as the wind brushing through the old window frame of her Los Angeles music apartment, he never loved anyone. He only loved his own music image. The man she was talking about was Robert Wagner, the golden boy of 1950s music, Hollywood, the man who made millions of women swoon, music, with his confident eyes and gentlemanly smile. But to Marion, that light was nothing more than a perfect mask, music, hiding an empty soul. Since 1957, when the name Robert Wagner was plastered across cinema Mares, Hollywood believed it was witnessing music, a fairy tale romance between the handsome leading man and the beautiful music actress Marion Marshall. Yet behind the radiant smiles on the cover of Life magazine was a marriage staged like a movie scene, music directed by ambition, starring Wagner, with Marion playing the supporting role in her own life. Hollywood in 1957 was drenched in flashbulbs and gossip columns praising the dream wedding of Robert Wagner and Marion Marshall. The ceremony took place at the Beverly Hills Hotel, where photographers crowded to capture every detail, from the first kiss after the vows to the thin veil fluttering over Marion's face, music, in the warm California breeze. From the outside, it was perfect. But from the very moment Wagner took her hand and led her down the hotel steps, Marion knew he was acting. He smiled precisely at the right camera angle, adjusted his cufflinks, music, and whispered, "Smile, darling. People are watching." It seemed like a casual remark, but it became a refrain that, music, followed Marion through every day of their marriage. She once confided to her close friend, actress Mighty Gaynor, "He looks in the mirror before he kisses me. He's not looking at me. He's looking at music himself." In every photoplay photo, Wagner rested a hand gently on her shoulder, his smile warm, his eyes tender. But once the lights went out, he would grow silent, music, frighteningly. There were nights when Marion woke up to see him sitting on the sofa, eyes fixed on nothing, a cigarette burning between music, his fingers. When she asked what he was thinking, he only replied, "I'm working on my next role." Eventually, Marion realized that even inside her own home, Robert was a character, not a man. To the public, they were V Studio's golden couple. But to Marion, their love had no warmth. "He never held my hand in public unless there was a camera," she said. It sounded exaggerated, but even photographers of that era confirmed it. Wagner always kept a half-step distance from his wife when their music wasn't a lens pointed at them, as if afraid to smudge his carefully composed image. Crew members at Fox recalled that in 1958, during the release of A Kiss Before Dying, Wagner spent hours in front of the mirror rehearsing his smile and his best profile. When Marion asked, "Are you preparing for the premiere?" he answered, "No, I'm preparing to be remembered." That was when she realized he didn't need love. He needed admiration. At elite Hollywood parties in Bear, Marion stood quietly beside her husband, watching him charm everyone around music him. Robert could talk to 3 people at once, his smile never fading, always turning music instinctively toward the nearest flash of light. Each time, music, it happened, Marion said. I felt like I was living next to a photograph, not a man. Before Marion, Wagner, music, had been deeply in love with Natalie Wood, the American sweetheart of Rebel Without a Cause. When he married Marion, he had never escaped Natalie's shadow. On the vanity in their bedroom, Wagner still kept a framed photo of her, calling it a beautiful piece of movie history. Marion said nothing. She just turned away and cried that night. I knew I could never compete with the past, she confessed years later. I was only there to fill the space she left behind. In 1960, they moved into a grand house in Coldwater Canyon. The mansion was spacious, but cold. Mirrors lined the walls, making Marion feel as if a third person was always in the room. Every morning, Wagner spent long minutes, music, in front of those mirrors, combing his hair, adjusting his tie, and smiling a smile that was never meant for her. Once Marion joked, "What will you do if the mirror breaks one day?" He replied, voice like ice, "I'll buy a new one." To the world, they remained the perfect couple. They graced the cover of Look magazine, attended Oscar parties, and posed alongside Hollywood's brightest music stars. But behind closed doors, Wagner always walked ahead, leaving Marion a few steps behind. "I felt like his shadow," she said music, in an unpublished 2017 interview. And shadows are never meant to be seen in the light. Over time, Marion realized she was living with a man who loved fame more than anyone, even more than himself. Their marriage was not a relationship between two people. It was a three-way affair between Wagner, Wagner's image, and the woman forced to stand aside and watch. In 1962, their marriage ended. The newspapers wrote simply, "Marion Marshall and Robert Wagner part ways amicably." But those close to her remembered what Marion said music when she signed the divorce papers. "At last, I can walk out of his movie." After that, she disappeared from Hollywood, living quietly with her daughter. Wagner, on the other hand, returned brighter than ever, polished, composed, and smiling with the same controlling eyes that music never seemed to change. More than a decade later, when Natalie Wood's name once again appeared beside his, Marion simply said, "She'll find out, too." And that was only the surface of the man. Behind the perfect mask, music, Robert Wagner carried something far more frightening, a possessive instinct. People say Robert Wagner had hypnotic eyes, but to Marion Marshall, those eyes were not the magic of love. They were invisible chains that bound her life throughout their marriage. Los Angeles, summer 1960. That night they attended a party on Sunset Boulevard where Hollywood greats gathered. Tony Curtis, Debbie Reynolds, even director Vincente Minnelli. Warm golden light washed over champagne glasses. Jazz drifted. Everyone laughed brightly. Marion wore a silver silk dress, hair in soft, music, waves, every inch a dreamlike star.